A Jewish public school teacher in Portland, Oregon, has filed a federal lawsuit against the Portland Association of Teachers and Portland Public Schools, alleging that the union's pro-Palestinian advocacy created a hostile work environment and that the district failed to address his concerns. The teacher, represented anonymously as John Doe, contends that the Oregon's exclusive representation law forces him to associate with a union that contradicts his religious beliefs, violating his First Amendment rights. The Freedom Foundation, supporting the lawsuit, also filed a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, citing Title VII violations. Joining us now is Aaron Withe, CEO of the Freedom Foundation, an organization dedicated to protecting individual rights and exposing union abuses. Hi, Aaron.
Christian, thanks for having me on.
How does this case reflect the broader issues of compelled association and religious freedom within the public sector unions?
Yeah, if you're a public employee today, then you're forced to be represented by a union. I mean, he can opt out of a union. Anybody in America that works for the government today can opt out of the union and stop paying union dues. But the problem here is he's still forced to be represented by them. That includes in contract disputes, that includes in disputes with his employer. And in this instance, the most egregious instance that I've ever seen, he's forced to be represented by a union that opposes his very existence. I mean, when they advocate for stances like from the river to the sea, that's essentially what they're saying. So we're proud to represent this teacher, and our end goal here is to make it so that every public employee in America not only can opt out of union membership, but also opt out of the forced representation of the unions.
And what legal precedents or constitutional arguments support the challenge against Oregon's exclusive representation law in this context?
It's a federal law, so it's in this instance, it's freedom of association. Americans should not be forced to be represented by somebody that opposes their religion, opposes their views. And like I said, in this instance, he's forced to be represented by a union that hates him. I mean, his school looks like the middle of Gaza right now. It's got Palestinian flags everywhere. It's got students being asked to pray to Allah. But heaven forbid this teacher tries to bring in an Israeli flag. Our teacher is Jewish, Israeli born, and he's being forced to go through all of these different things, so much so that he felt forced to leave his school. He actually ended up moving schools over this.
So it's the freedom of assembly clause of the First Amendment, right? Which conversely, it's both freedom to assemble with whom one wants to assemble, but also to not assemble with whom they don't want to assemble. Is that correct?
Or not, yes, and that's the key. He's being forced into this right now, and that should never happen, like I said. And we have another case on similar claims down in California as well. The plaintiffs call this, they call it the UTLA case. They're members of UTLA, which in Southern California. They're Jewish teachers being forced to be represented by a teachers union down in California that's taken similar stances, not to this extent. But for this teacher back in Portland, I mean, he opposed what his school was doing. He went to his union to complain about it and for them to represent him. Then he comes to find out that the unions were the ones actually implementing this anti-Semitic curriculum. So he was really between a rock and a hard place and had nobody else to turn to, and he was not allowed to be represented by somebody else. That's the key here. He should have been allowed to either represent himself in these grievance disputes, or he should have been allowed to hire somebody else to represent him. He was prevented from being able to do that.
So let's say you're successful. What implications could this lawsuit have for public employees nationwide who feel their rights are compromised by mandatory union affiliation?
So as it stands today, every public employee in America has the right to leave their unions and stop paying union dues. The Freedom Foundation has been on the front line of a campaign to educate every single government worker of those rights. And since 2020, it's been the largest decline of union membership in U.S. history. But we want to take this one step further. We want to make it so that not only can you opt out of union membership, but you can opt out of union representation. And it's an important note here that unions do not want this. They claim that if you opt out of the union, but you're still being represented by us, then you're unfairly taking advantage of our services. In reality, they want this system because it allows them to guilt people into union membership, and it forces their representation. They don't want an environment where they have to compete with either other unions, other associations, or allow people to represent themselves. Because once that happens, you undo their monopoly and allow for capitalism to thrive.
Yeah, so my kindergarten teacher in Joaquin Miller in Oakland, she refused to join a strike. I understood years later, and then the faculty made her life a living hell from that point on. How do you enforce against cases like that, against situations like that, that oftentimes those who don't want to partake in a union find themselves in?
Yeah, and most teachers in America today have never voted for their union either. I mean, this is another issue that we could go on about. But the bottom line is this: teachers and other public employees in America, they should be able to represent themselves if they want. If there are teachers that want to collectively assemble and they want to strike, then so be it. But there should be, if there are teachers on the front line that don't want to do that, that don't want to strike, that don't want to be represented by these unions and their woke political ideology, then they should be able to get out of those as well. And that's the heart of this issue.
So, to be exact, the Freedom Foundation has assisted 5,170 public employees in opting out of union membership and dues, marking a new monthly record and contributing to a year-to-date total of 20,876 opt-outs, surpassing all previous years at this point. Now, California and Colorado led with 2,558 and 589 opt-outs respectively, reflecting a growing trend of public employees exercising their rights to disassociate from unions. Now, this surge is attributed to the Freedom Foundation's enhanced outreach strategies and commitment to informing workers of their constitutional rights. For instance, I had never had that reading of the First Amendment, of the free, first of all, the free assembly clause is an often overlooked clause in the First Amendment, but that inverse factor where it's not just freedom to associate with, but to not associate with, that's something that I'm learning about in real time. So that's really important what you're doing. Now, what factors do you believe are driving this increasing number of public employees choosing to opt out of membership and dues? Is it just because they were never aware and you guys are coming in and saying, hey, just so you know, these are your rights? Or what is it?
Yeah, for the most part, most public employees don't know that they can leave their unions and stop paying union dues. So for most people, this is new information. In 2018, the U.S. Supreme Court made a decision, Janus v. AFSCME, that allowed every public employee in America to stop paying union dues. They can opt out and stop paying union dues today. Since then, we've been running a nationwide campaign to educate every government worker in America. As you referenced, we had a record month last month. More people are opting out year over year. We've helped over 220,000 people get out of their unions since 2018. The factors I put down to two reasons, though. One is scalability. We're able to contact more public employees and get more people out of the unions when we're able to knock on more doors, when we're able to send more mail, send more emails because of increased support from our donors, then we're able to get more people out of the unions. But the second trend is that we've observed is that as more public employees have opted out, the snowball effect has become bigger. Culture has started to change where more public employees feel empowered to leave their unions. They find a lack of value for those unions.
Yeah, my mom is a lifelong public school teacher in California, and she's always had to just resign to the fact that she knows her money from her paycheck is going towards getting siphoned and going towards Barbara Lee or Dianne Feinstein or whomever. So it's really important what you guys are doing. This is really a freedom of choice movement that you're spearheading. So excellent work. Thanks for coming on. Anything you'd like to add?
Christian, thanks for having us on. The last thing I will add is that this year we're hosting a Teacher Freedom Summit in Washington, D.C. This is the third year that we've done this. We're seeing more teachers across the country in particular that are wanting to get out of their unions. So we have created a new group for them called the Teacher Freedom Alliance. If there are any teachers watching, I'd encourage you to go to the website, sign up, and even look at potentially coming to the summit this summer. We want more like-minded teachers together so that we can battle the teachers' unions in numbers.
Excellent. Thanks again, Aaron. All right, that's all the time we have for the show. Remember to download the OAN Live app on your TV and your favorite streaming devices. You can also catch any Fine Point episodes you may have missed right there in the app with our video on demand feature. Spread the word. Good night. Godspeed. Until next time.